Stop jumping on me. Why are you doing that?
Having a bad dog day?
Rex, come back here.
From police dogs to pet dogs, from potty training to pet peeves, #1 best-selling author and 30-year canine trainer Andy Falco knows how to get to the meat of what's eating your dog. This is Falco Canine Dog Talk, the show that helps you and your dog create a relationship of love and respect.
What a good boy. Good heel, Rex. I love you, Rex.
And now here's your host, Andy Falco.
Hello, my friends. This is Andy over at Falco Canine Academy's Train the Dog Trainer podcast. And this is our inaugural episode here. And so what I thought I'd do is at least tell you just a tad bit about myself. I'll share more as time goes on. I got about 30 years of experience in the dog training business. So I don't want to bore you with all the details in the very first podcast here. But like I said, I've been doing this for a very long time, about 30 years, maybe a little bit longer. As a child, I really wanted to be a whale and dolphin trainer for SeaWorld here in Southern California. My home and where I grew up is La Mirada, California. I eventually moved throughout Southern California in Huntington Beach, Riverside, La Habra, Whittier. I've settled in Brea, California, where I've had offices in both Yorba Linda and Brea. I opened a company called Falco Canine Academy, as you all know. And the corporation is Falco Enterprises Incorporated. I started the business when I was a police officer at Anaheim Police Department, and got noticed because I had done some things in the police dog world. I had been asked to be an instructor at the International Police Canine Conferences. I traveled all throughout the world to learn dog training techniques, mostly in regard to police dogs. But as I found out fairly quickly is that much of what I learned in the police dog world could be very easily applied to pet dogs. And so my very first customer was a security officer for a company called Odetics in Anaheim. The Odetics allowed Anaheim Police Department to come in and train their police dogs, and even from time to time would allow the SWAT team to come in and do some stuff. Well, I had a really quick connection with the security manager. His name's Tim Alcott. He's passed away a few years ago, but a fantastic man who really loved police canines and loved his dog. And so as he saw me working with my police dog, saw that the handlers were coming to me for advice and how to train, and saw that I was basically leading the training at that time. I had not started a business yet, but I was busy leading training, giving them advice, showing them how to use certain types of tools and techniques and that kind of stuff. And he came to me and he said, "You know what? I have this dog that I bought, and he hates everybody. He's tried to bite everybody that I bring him near, and I don't want to get rid of him because I really like him. Is there anything you can do to help me out?" Because I have asked, this is Tim talking, I have asked other trainers, and once they see him and get a load of him, they say they can't help me. I've seen what you've been able to do with the police canines here. All those other guys are also police canine trainers, but I don't know what it is that they're afraid of, but they just won't help me. So I take a look at his dog, and of course his dog tries to bite me right away, and I go, "Yes, I can help you with this dog." And although I really wasn't sure if I was going to make any inroads as to whether making him social or not, I knew that I could at least give it a try and apply some of what I've learned, not locally, but around the other places that I've been, in Europe and Canada. And I knew the people he had asked are all from the Southern California area. They weren't really into learning from other people, because that's the way some dog trainers are. They at some point they decide that nobody else knows what they're talking about, and what they know is all that they need to know, and they don't further their education, which I'm glad to hear or see that you are here, and because you are not one of those people. You think that it's valuable to constantly be learning about what's happening in the dog training world, about techniques, about things that maybe you've long forgotten and need to be reminded about from time to time. And that's what this podcast is all about. So ended up taking on Tim and his dog Arnold, and we began to see improvement. Although at the beginning it was kind of slow, we incorporated a lot of obedience, and good sound obedience, not harsh obedience, just good sound obedience. And we began to see a change in the dog. What the dog really needed was a leader. Now, Tim, as he would admit, was a little overweight. Well, okay, a lot overweight, and just did not have the dexterity, I guess it is, and the coordination to be able to hand such a powerful dog who had been taught that he needed to be aggressive. And when he really wasn't truly aggressive in his genetics and in his mind, but he had been made to be aggressive. He was convinced he needed to be aggressive. And now with Tim, who was, again, not, in the best health, he was a little overweight and had some other issues going on. It made the dog feel that, well, I got to protect not only myself, but this guy too, because there's no way he can protect himself. So, we'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later on in future episodes, but this is where we were with that dog. So by training Tim how to create a more obedient dog and gaining respect from the dog and to be the dog's leader as opposed to the other way around, you began to see the stress just kind of wash away from this dog. The dog went, well, maybe I don't have to be the protector of not only Tim, but all the people on this that he's close to in regard to work, but also his wife, Robbie. And so the stress began to wash away. The dog began to not worry about all these other people, strangers that were walking up and what they potentially could do to not only Tim and Robbie, but to him himself, Arnold. And make a long story short, at a certain point, about 3-4 months down the road, we began to see that Arnold, in his true personality and his true genetics, is actually a very nice, friendly dog who eventually would become the mascot for the company and would be laying at Tim's feet in his office. People could walk in, no longer worrying about whether he was going to get up and bite them, and he can actually leave the dog with people while he handled things that he didn't need his dog for. And so that was my very first paying customer, and it was a godsend. It actually boosted my confidence as a dog trainer. It showed me that although other people may give up on a dog, if you just give the dog some time and give the human being some good direction and require them to follow through, that you can clearly make a difference in a dog's life and in a relationship between a dog and humans, make a difference in their life and what their future will hold as far as whether they'll be able to take their dog out socially and how they have to live. So that's the beginning. And so again, like I said, I will be talking more about my history and some of the things I've done in the past and some of the things I'm doing now. And I take you along the journey, and hopefully along the way, I can teach you something. So in this very first episode, really, I want to take that story that I just gave you in regard to Tim and his dog Arnold, and just I want you to feel comfortable first with where you're at now as a dog trainer. Don't go over your head. I don't want you to think, well, now I'm going to take on every aggressive dog and I'm going to make a difference. If you don't, now remember, at that time I had been training police dogs and training them to bite. I'd been bit probably at that point on purpose, at least 1,000 times. And I knew the difference between a dog who was biting me out of aggression, biting me out of fear, biting me out of confidence and obedience. I knew all the different kinds of personalities and genetics and things that it took a dog to bite and stay engaged, and I could tell how a dog was feeling by looking into his eyes as he was biting. So I had a lot of experience in regard to aggression, and so that was easier for me to start for that to be my very first customer. I don't recommend that unless you have that experience, but understanding who you are as a dog trainer, where you're at in your knowledge, and make sure that you start there first. Get a customer, start with a customer, and maybe even do it for free. Now, I had done a couple other things for people with their dogs and neighbors and that kind of stuff up to that point for free, but again, this is the first time I got paid. And so I think in the beginning I was a little nervous and said, well, an hour training, how about $50 or something? I forget what it was, but it wasn't very much. It was very inexpensive. And so you will in the beginning, and this is for granted. My whole goal with this Train the Dog Trainer is not that you do things for free, and not that you do it for a minimum wage, and not that you even do it for a small wage. My goal is that you become a leading expert in your area in regard to training dogs, and you get paid appropriately. And just to kind of fast forward, I get paid now up to $400 an hour for my time with people in regard to the dog subject matter. So that's where I'm at now. So it's a huge difference than when I was doing it for free and traveling very far to only get paid for, $100 for about 3 to 4 hours of time, which would include my driving somewhere, my time spent with a human being, my time spent with a dog, and then my time spent writing a report, and then my time spent driving home. So 4 to 5 hours, I was only charging $100, which was good because I was getting experience, but bad that there's no way you can make a living and raise a family charging only that amount of money. So, but if you're going to get started, you need to get started. You need to start to get people under your belt, not necessarily humans. I mean, not necessarily dogs, but humans under your belt. It's important because there's where your money is made. Understanding that you're training the human being and the dog is almost secondary. Almost, in many cases, I think is secondary. And so understanding that, get people under your belt, really concentrate on what it is that you're doing with a human being, but just get started and start at a place that you're certain to have success. Now, you're not always going to have success, but as certain as you can possibly be that whatever the problem is that they are asking you about, approaching you with, and requesting that is something that you are going to be able to handle. If not, then what I would suggest, and this kind of happened to me early on with police dog training, is that you refer them to somebody that can, and then for that referral, you ask the trainer if you can watch and be a part of the dog's training. And that is really how I learned how to train police dogs, is that I became a unpaid intern to many of the best dog trainers in the world, because I would bring them customers, I would recommend them to people who would come to me early on, and then I would be there and just learn. Not always did I agree with what the trainer was doing. There was a point, that I got enough knowledge that I go, you know what? I'm not sure that I would handle that way. But knowing my place, I would wait for the perfect time to be able to, at the end, maybe after everybody's gone, say, did you consider the possibility of maybe doing this? And the trainer sometimes would say, well, yeah, except for, and I missed something. Like, oh, you're right, I didn't see that. Or he would say, that would have been a good place to start. So next time they come, let's look at that and see if maybe that will make it more of a difference than what we did today. And so, of course, not every trainer is going to admit that, but some did, and some were happy to hear my advice or my suggestions at a particular time. And then from that point on, then you can begin to branch out on your own and begin charging your own money. So just get started. Do what you can to get started, whether it's giving your time away, if it's paying to attend a bunch of classes, then you need to do that. But just get started. If you want to make this, if you have a passion for training dogs, and this is what you want to do, and this is how you want to make a living, you got to just get in the trenches, right? You have to be there with a dog. You have to be there with the people. You have to be there with a trainer, and you have to really get started. So enough watching YouTube videos, enough just watching and certain television shows, and maybe even enough listen to podcasts, except for mine, because what we're going to do is I'm going to take you on a journey so that I'm always, hopefully, going to be in a place where you need to learn something new or hear something new and get motivated to be the dog trainer that you want to be. All right, so the only thing you can't get rid of is my podcast or my membership site that you're going to eventually want to get into, because we have lots of videos in there that are going to help you along the way, or a Facebook page and all the other things that goes along with it. All right, so that's it for today. So I just want you to take this very first one, just like starting this podcast. I just got started. I hit the record button and I just got started with the intention of telling you that same thing. So how did I get started in police work and canine training and all that kind of stuff? I just got started. And I figured out where I needed to be, what I needed to learn, and where I needed to go from that point, and always trying to move forward, always trying to learn more. The last thing, and I almost forgot it, I'm glad I had it on my notes, and that is to journal your process and your progress. journal. I would prefer how I did in the beginning, that you actually write it with a pen and paper or pencil and paper, and you write it down. The brain seems to remember things a lot more. You won't even have to necessarily go back and read your journal. It's the fact of writing it down. Now, typing's fine, but I think handwriting things down is the best way to go. And I think that it is something that is absolutely necessary, no matter what it is you're doing, that you journal your path to success and write it down. It will help you remember what it is that you learned for that day. So journal. All right, that's it for me, Andy, over here at Falco Canine Academy's Train the Dog Trainer podcast, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in our future podcast. All right, take care, and talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Falco Canine Dog Talk, the show that helps you and your dog create a relationship of love and respect. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass along our web address at www.falcocanineacademy.com and like our Facebook page at facebook.com/Falco Canine Academy. Follow us on twitter.com/Falco Canine Academy and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Falco143. And remember, if you've got questions for Andy, call the K9 line at 714-798-9961. That's 714-798-9961. This is a production of Falco Enterprises Incorporated. All rights reserved.